Animal is a major tectonic shift in the way films will be made. Because post-Animal, every other action looks fake. All those flips and like fighting, it all looks fake. Because somehow the action in that film and the use of music in that film had an impact.
Has Sandeep Reddy Vanga created a new blueprint for action in Indian cinema or pushed it down a path of some fear? Let's break down the method behind the mayhem and understand how Indian action cinema might never be the same again.
You're goddamn right.
Starting with the first point, the raw and visceral brutality.
I didn't know he was great in action, or else I would have done that also more.
More? You have a half an hour?
No, more. This is not in the length.
Right.
I mean to say the brutality.
Brutality. Yes.
When you watch a Sandeep Reddy Vanga film, the plot might be racing, characters are clashing, and then violence erupts. But something feels different. It doesn't always register as action in the way you have been conditioned to expect. It's not necessarily faster, bigger, or more explosive. It's a texture, a feeling that crawls under your skin. It's the moment you find yourself physically tensing up, maybe even looking away, not from gore necessarily, but from its sheer unvarnished ferocity. That sensation, that deliberate stripping away of comfort and style to get to something gut-wrenching, that is the essence of the raw and visceral brutality in Vanga's films.
I'll show them what violent film will be.
And how does he achieve this specific, unsettling texture? Part of it lies in his influences. Take Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas. Vanga often has cited this movie as one of his favorites.
Specific kind of filmmaking.
Specific, I would say Goodfellas. Goodfellas.
And you can see a potential parallel in how violence often erupts from character flaws and volatile situations rather than being presented as a choreographed spectacle. It's a sudden, awkward, and feels dangerously real, stemming from raw nerve, a quality Vanga seems to channel. Then there's Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill, where violence is hyper-stylized, almost balletic at times. Think about the sheer intensity and commitment to showcasing the physical toll. More technically, consider Tarantino's famous use of extended takes in action sequences, like the legendary House of Blue Leaves battle. It's a technique that immerses the viewer, forcing them to endure the onslaught without the relief of quick cuts. Vanga employs similar long takes, like in the Animal Hotel scene, but strips away the Tarantino-like stylization.
In Kill Bill, if you remember, one fight sequence is never ending. I was very hooked to it. I saw it multiple times and it is holding my attention. So
He seems to borrow the technique, the sustained, unbroken view of chaos, but applies it to achieve that raw, grounded, almost punishing realism instead of stylized cool. It's like taking the immersive intensity from one playbook and the character-driven, unglamorous brutality from another, fusing them into his distinct approach. You're trapped in the chaos, experiencing the relentless, draining nature of the violence in real time alongside the character. There's no editing trickery to mask the effort or the impact. It's sustained and suffocating and is often paired with intense, tight close-ups. Vanga pushes the camera right into his actors' faces during the fight. We see the grimace of pain, the snarl of fury, the desperate gasp for air. It's not just about what they are doing, but what it's costing them physically and emotionally. This makes the violence feel personal, immediate, and deeply visceral. And what takes this experience to the next level is the element of sound and fury.
I listen to a lot of music. I can't imagine myself without music. Even I can't write a scene without music and sound at least.
For Sandeep Reddy Vanga, sound design isn't atmospheric filler. The sounds of violence in his films are often pushed beyond realism into something hyper-tactile. Every impact is seemingly amplified to feel consequential and inescapable. The Arjun Reddy song playing in the background, the specific terrifying roar of the custom machine gun in Animal, or the background score of Aziz, these aren't just sound effects, they are an auditory signature of the chaos. Complementing this auditory assault is the fury, the deliberate, often aggressive editing style. Yes, Vanga uses long takes for immersion, but he also employs sharp, jarring cuts that can feel like blows themselves. Edits often land precisely at the moment of impact, denying any visual buffer and maximizing the jolt. The rhythm can switch in an instant, from a steady, tense build-up to a fierce barrage of cuts that mirrors the disorientation and brutality of the fight. The true power lies in the synthesis. A sudden, sharp cut paired with an explosive sound effect creates an innate shockwave that travels beyond the screen. It's this potent combination of meticulously sculpted sound and calculated editing choices that creates Vanga's signature rhythm of violence. But a filmmaker can have all the tools at their disposal, but technique alone doesn't explain the lingering unease or the fierce debates surrounding Vanga's work. To understand that, we need to ask what fuels this fire? Where does this meticulously crafted brutality actually stem from? In many action films, violence serves the plot. It's an obstacle, a resolution, a spectacle. In Vanga's universe, however, the violence constantly erupts from a deeper, more volatile source, the characters themselves, bringing us to a critical pillar of his filmmaking, character-driven violence. This is where Vanga departs most sharply from convention. The extreme actions taken by his protagonists aren't just reactions to external threats. They are direct, often unfiltered expressions of their internal state. Their rage isn't generic anger, it's possessive, obsessive, born from deep-seated insecurities or a profoundly skewed moral compass. Their loyalty isn't just noble, it can manifest as terrifying aggression. Take Arjun Reddy or Kabir Singh for example. His notorious anger isn't just a quirk, it's the engine of his actions. When he believes Preeti is threatened or disrespected at the college, he doesn't just confront, he unleashes a territorial, almost primal assertion of dominance. It's a visceral explosion born from a deep-seated possessiveness and an inability to manage his rage when his sense of ownership is challenged. Now consider Ranvijay in Animal. His entire being seems singularly focused on an almost pathological devotion to his father. Every act of monumental violence can be traced back to this core motivation: to protect, avenge, or gain the approval of his father. The infamous hotel sequence isn't just an action set piece, it's Ranvijay's disproportionate, almost unhinged response to a perceived threat against his family, particularly his father. The very style of their violence is revealing. Arjun/Kabir often fights with a raw, impulsive fury. Ranvijay, while equally brutal, often exhibits a more strategic, almost militaristic approach to his large-scale confrontations. This isn't simply about protagonists having a backstory that justifies their actions. Vanga makes their psychological wounds, their flawed ideologies, the very source code for their brutality. Understanding this connection is key to unpacking the Vanga effect. This inevitably leads us to our final point today, the post-animal paradigm. Has Sandeep Reddy Vanga forged a new action template? The conversation ignited by Animal, particularly after its late 2023 release, was immediate and intense. Beyond the debates, a new lens was applied to action filmmaking itself. Suddenly, there's a palpable sense that action sequences where heroes emerge unscathed from impossible scenarios now risk appearing weightless. And we are seeing films that understand this evolving taste. Take Kill for instance. This film, which garnered significant attention even before its wider theatrical run, is a masterclass in contained, relentless and brutally effective action. Every strike, every desperate grapple feels authentic and agonizingly real. And then there is Hanif Adeni's Marco, starring Unni Mukundan, which hit theaters in late 2024 and quietly gained notoriety as one of Malayalam cinema's most violent films. While some critics pointed to a thin storyline, its commitment to delivering ruthless, high-impact action sequences resonated strongly, particularly with audiences seeking that raw thrill.
तुम्हें पता है मार्को कौन है?
So has Sandeep Reddy Vanga with Animal definitely rewritten the rules for mainstream Indian action? It's more accurate to say he's dramatically raised the stakes for perceived realism and instinctive impact. He has proven on a colossal scale that there is a massive, hungry audience for this unapologetically brutal and character-rooted style of action. Other styles will and should continue to exist, but it's undeniable the landscape has been altered. And that brings us to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this analysis, here is another Sandeep Reddy Vanga video for you to watch. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.